I stood there in the marble lobby of the Hamptons Resort, watching my own children, David and Mark, walk away laughing toward the grand staircase without a single glance back. My daughter-in-law, Karen, adjusted the strap of her Gucci bag and whispered just loud enough for me to hear. Thank God. Finally, a moment of peace without the old burden. They all chuckled, a small, cruel sound that echoed off the cold, expensive stone. They didn't know I had heard every word. They didn't know I had paid for every cent of that reservation. The 5 ocean view suites, the all-inclusive package, the spa credits they were already planning to use. They didn't know it was all paid for with the money I had saved for 8 long months. 8 months of waking up before dawn in my cold Vermont kitchen, bottling my artisanal maple syrup and blueberry jam, standing at farmers markets until my feet felt like ice blocks, stashing coin after coin, bill after bill, in an old coffee tin I hid behind the flour. They also didn't know what I was about to do. But let's go back to the beginning. Because it all started 3 weeks earlier, on a Tuesday afternoon, when the late autumn sun was just a weak suggestion through my kitchen window. I was preparing my afternoon tea, just like I have every day since my husband Robert passed away 4 years ago when my phone rang. It was my eldest son, David. He had that sweet, buttery voice he only used when he needed something. "Mom, I have the most wonderful idea," he said, his voice full of an artificial brightness that immediately put me on guard. I felt that familiar, foolish flutter in my chest, the one that always came when my children pretended to include me in their plans. "What do you think about us taking a real family trip for the holidays? All of us together, like in the good old days." His voice was so excited, so full of feigned nostalgia, that I could almost see his polished Boston smile through the phone. I found this incredible resort in the Hamptons. Pools, restaurants, activities for the kids. It would be perfect, Mom. I set the teapot down on the counter, feeling my eyes fill with actual genuine tears of joy. It had been so long since I felt included. So long since I had been invited to anything more than a Thanksgiving dinner, where I sat quietly at the end of the table, listening to them talk about their jobs, their stock portfolios, their other more exciting trips. I was always the one who served, who cleared the dishes, who stayed in the kitchen, while everyone else went into the living room to talk about things I wouldn't understand. That sounds wonderful, David," I replied, trying to keep my voice from cracking with emotion. "When would it be?" "The first week of January." 7 days, Mom. Imagine it. Me, Karen, Mark and Sarah, all the grandkids, and you, of course, like one big, happy family. He paused, and then came the hook. "There's just one small detail, Mom. The resort is a bit old-fashioned with their booking. They require a single reservation holder, one card for the entire group, just to keep things streamlined. My corporate Amex is being finicky. Something about a large client transaction. Could you possibly handle the booking? Put it on your card? We'll all transfer you the money right after, of course. It's just for the deposit. Of course. It was always like this." I was the one who put my name on the line. I was the one who handled the paperwork, the logistics, the guarantees, while they had all the fun. But this time, I didn't mind. It was a chance to do something special for my family. A chance to buy my way back into their lives, even if just for a week. A chance to show them how much I loved them. "Of course, son. You can count on me." "Oh, hello there. I see you've joined my story. I do apologize for getting right into it, but as you can see, things got complicated rather quickly. My name is Eleanor, and these are my tales. Or, as I like to call them, Aunt Millie's tales. It's stories like this, stories of betrayal, and maybe just a little bit of justice, that we share here. If you're finding this story compelling, I'd be so grateful if you'd take a moment to like this video and perhaps subscribe to my channel, Aunt Millie's Tales. And please, do let me know in the comments what city you're listening from. It warms my heart to know where my stories are traveling. Now, where was I? Ah, yes, the phone call. That same afternoon, I called the resort. The receptionist had a crisp, professional voice that sounded expensive. Golden Dunes Resort, the Hamptons. How may I assist you? I'd like to make a reservation for 12 people, I said, my heart racing. I had never organized anything this big before. Certainly, ma'am. For what dates? From January 2nd to the 9th. I heard the clicking of her keyboard. All right. That would be 5 of our Ocean View family suites, all-inclusive package. That includes all meals, beverages, and full access to our spa and golf facilities. The total for the group, for 7 nights, will be $15,000. I stopped breathing. $15,000. My pension was $900 a month. My little jam and syrup business brought in a few hundred more if I was lucky. I didn't have that kind of money. Ma'am? Are you still there? Yes, I'm sorry. Can I confirm the reservation and pay later? We require a 50% deposit to confirm, ma'am. That would be $7,500. The full balance is due 30 days prior to arrival. I couldn't sleep that night. I sat in my rocking chair, Robert's old quilt over my lap, calculating and recalculating. I had my savings, the $8,000 I'd painstakingly saved from my syrup sales over the last year. But that was for emergencies, for a new roof, for the brutal Vermont winters. And then I looked at my hand, my wedding ring, a simple gold band. But in my jewelry box, tucked in the back, was the piece Robert had given me for our 40th anniversary. A beautiful, modest diamond necklace. He had saved for 2 years to buy it. It was the last truly extravagant thing he ever gave me. The next day, I drove to the antique jeweler in Burlington. Mr. Henderson, an older gentleman who knew my whole family, looked at me over his glasses. Eleanor, what brings you in? I came to ask what you'd give me for this, Mr. Henderson. He examined it with his loupe, turning it over in his wrinkled fingers. It's a lovely piece, Eleanor. Classic setting. I can give you $8,000 for it. I felt as if I'd been punched in the stomach. $8,000 for 40 years of marriage, for Robert's sacrifice. But I thought of David's smile. I thought of my grandchildren's laughter. I thought of all of us, together, like in the good old days. It's a deal. With the money from the necklace and my entire emergency savings, I called the hotel that same afternoon and paid the full amount, $15,000. The reservation was confirmed, in my name, with my card as the guarantee. 5 family suites, 12 people, 7 days, all inclusive. Over the next few weeks, every time I spoke with David or Mark, they asked about the trip details. Did you get the ocean view, Mom? Does the all-inclusive cover top-shelf liquor? But they never, not once, mentioned the money. Oh, we'll settle up all that boring stuff when we get there, David would say, brushing it off. The important thing is we're all together. I continued to sell my jams and syrup, trying to rebuild the savings I had wiped out. My house was colder because I turned the thermostat down to 60 degrees. I ate soup for dinner most nights. I walked to the post office instead of driving to save on gas. All for that perfect family trip. 3 days before we were to leave, David called me, his voice bubbling with that fake excitement again. Mom! You don't know how much we're looking forward to this. The kids are bouncing off the walls. Karen has already packed everything. How are the hotel preparations? Everything's ready, son. All paid for. Paid for? Mom, I told you we'd split it. You should have just paid the deposit. Oh, it was just easier this way, David, to get it all settled. Well, you're amazing, Mom. Truly, we'll figure it all out when we get there. The important thing is we have fun. The night before the trip, I packed my small suitcase, the one Robert and I had used for our trip to Maine 20 years ago. I had no idea what I was about to discover. The morning of the trip, I woke up before sunrise. I had packed my suitcase the night before, carefully folding each item. I chose my best dresses, the simple wool ones, and the pearl earrings that were my mother's. I put on my light blue coat, the one Mark always said made me look younger, and carefully applied a little lipstick. I wanted to look nice for the family photos we would surely take. David was supposed to pick me up at 7 a.m. We had planned to travel all together in their 2 large SUVs for the 4-hour drive from Vermont and Boston down to the Hamptons. At 7:30, David finally honked from the street. I grabbed my suitcase, locked the door to my quiet house, and walked to the car with a smile I couldn't wipe off my face. In the passenger seat, my daughter-in-law, Karen, was scrolling on her phone, her thumb moving a mile a minute. In the back, my 2 youngest grandkids were plugged into their iPads with headphones. "Good morning, family," I said as I climbed into the back, squeezing in next to the luggage. Only the kids replied with a distracted, "Hi, Grandma." Karen barely looked up, mumbling something that sounded like a greeting. David started the engine. "Are you ready for a perfect family vacation?" I asked, trying to start a cheerful conversation. "Yep, Mom," David replied, his eyes already on the GPS. His voice sounded tired and annoyed. "Karen, did you text Mark so they can follow us?" "They already left. Sarah's driving. You know Mark gets stressed in traffic. We'll probably get there before them anyway," Karen answered, never looking up from her phone. During the entire 4-hour drive, I tried to talk several times. I asked about David's work, about their plans for the resort, about whether the kids were excited to see the ocean. The answers were monosyllabic. Grunts, sighs, half smiles that quickly faded. Karen kept texting. Every now and then, she'd let out a sharp laugh at something she read on her screen. "Is it very funny?" I asked once, trying to be part of whatever was keeping her so entertained. "It's just my friends' group chat," she answered, her tone dismissive. "You wouldn't understand." I was quiet after that. I stared out the window at the passing landscape, the frozen fields of New England giving way to the gray highways of Connecticut and New York. I thought about all the jars of jam I had sold to pay for this. I thought about the nights I had stayed up late labeling bottles of syrup. I thought about my diamond necklace, now sitting in Mr. Henderson's safe. When we arrived at the Golden Dunes Resort, my breath caught in my throat. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Towering white columns, manicured lawns dusted with a light frost, and beyond the massive windows, the gray, churning Atlantic Ocean. Bellhops in smart uniforms rushed to take our bags. "What a beautiful place!" I exclaimed, feeling my chest swell with happiness. "I can't believe we're here!" The kids jumped out of the car, excited, and ran toward the entrance. David and Karen began to unload the suitcases from the trunk. At that moment, the second SUV arrived with Mark, Sarah, and the rest of the family. My 17-year-old granddaughter, Emily, was the only one who came to hug me. "Grandma, this place is incredible," she said, her eyes shining with genuine excitement. "Did you see the indoor pool? It's huge, and they say they have nightly bonfires on the beach, even in winter." "I know, honey. It's going to be a wonderful week," I replied, stroking her hair. At least someone shared my enthusiasm. We all went into the lobby, and I headed to the reception desk. It was a vast, elegant space with a roaring fireplace, marble floors that reflected the light from crystal chandeliers, white leather sofas, and enormous pots of white orchids. The air smelled of pinewood from the fire and salt from the ocean. "Good morning," I said to the receptionist, a young woman with a kind, professional smile. "I have a reservation under the name Eleanor Vance." She typed on her computer and smiled. "Of course, Mrs. Vance. We've been expecting you. 5 Ocean View family suites, 7 nights, all inclusive for 12 guests. Everything is in perfect order." While she was preparing the keys and explaining the resort services, the restaurant timings, the spa facilities, the golf tee times, I heard my sons talking quietly behind me. "5 suites," I heard Mark whisper to David. "I thought you said it would be simpler." "Mom organized everything," David replied, his voice low. "We'll figure out how to manage the costs later." The receptionist handed me a beautiful leather-bound folder with all the key cards. "The suites are on the 3rd floor, all with an ocean view. Breakfast is served from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the main dining room, lunch from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., and dinner from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., 10 p.m. You also have full access to the spa, pools, sports activities, and nightly entertainment." "How wonderful!" I exclaimed, feeling my heart beat with excitement. "Did you hear that, kids? We have access to everything." But when I turned around, beaming, ready to share my joy with my family, I froze. There was no one there. David, Mark, Karen, Sarah, and all the younger grandkids had disappeared. Only Emily was left, standing a few feet away, looking at me with a strange, guilty expression on her face. Where did everyone go?" I asked, the smile sliding off my face, my stomach dropping into my shoes. "They went to the elevators," she replied, biting her lower lip. Dad said they were going to get settled in the rooms and that we would meet up later. Without waiting for me, without the keys." Emily didn't answer, but I could see in her eyes that she wasn't telling me something. We walked to the elevator bank, but there was no sign of the family. We went up to the 3rd floor and walked down the plush, silent hallway, looking for them. But it was as if they had vanished. "Emily, what is going on here?" I asked, my voice trembling. She sighed, a heavy sigh for a 17-year-old, and took out her phone. "Grandma, there's something you need to know. They're in the family group chat." She stopped, as if it was hard for her to continue. "What group chat?" "The one Dad and Uncle David made. With Mom and Aunt Karen. It's called Hampton's Getaway. No drama." Her voice became softer. "Grandma, they didn't want you to come on the trip." I felt as if the marble floor was shifting under my feet. The blood rushed from my head. "What do you mean, they didn't want me to come?" "But David invited me. He asked me to organize everything." Emily showed me her phone, her own hands trembling. On the screen, I could see the group chat. The most recent messages, sent just moments ago, said things that broke my heart into 1,000 pieces. I read David's message first. "We're in." The old lady handled the check-in. "Perfect." Then Karen's reply. "Thank God. Now we can finally enjoy ourselves without her hovering and watching every dollar we spend." Mark had chimed in. "Did you see how excited she was at the desk?" "God, it's embarrassing." And Sarah's response. "Well, at least she's useful for something. Let her stay in her room and watch TV while we take advantage of everything." The words blurred in front of my eyes. I felt tears, hot and stinging, welling up. My throat closed. $15,000, my diamond necklace, 8 months of work. All so they could enjoy themselves, drama-free, without me. "Grandma?" Emily's voice sounded far away. "Grandma, Are you okay? Number. I wasn't okay, but I wasn't defeated either. I stood there in that opulent hotel hallway, the 5 leather key card folders clutched in my trembling fingers, while Emily looked at me with tear-filled eyes. The messages from the group chat kept coming on her phone, each one like another turn of the knife. Karen wrote again. I hope she doesn't get all pushy about family dinners every night. I want to try that new sushi place. David replied, Don't worry. If she gets too annoying, we'll just tell her she looks tired and should go rest. The important thing is the kids have fun. She can do her own thing. I closed my eyes and took a deep, shuddering breath. The hallway smelled of expensive cleaning products and fresh flowers, but all I could taste was the bitter, metallic flavor of humiliation in my mouth. For 40 years, I had raised those children. I had sacrificed my own dreams for theirs. I had sold the last precious gift from my dead husband to give them this perfect vacation. And this was how they repaid me. Emily, I said, with a voice I didn't recognize. It was cold and hard and clear. How long has this no drama group chat existed? She looked at her phone, scrolling up, her face pale. Since Uncle David first suggested the trip, Grandma. Look, here. She showed me the screen. There it was, clear as day. Group created on October 15th by David Vance. The same day my son had called me with his sweet, buttery voice to invite me on the family trip of my dreams. I continued to read the older messages. Each one was worse than the last. David had written, Okay, I already talked to Mom. She fell for the whole family togetherness story. She's going to book it. Mark replied, Are you sure she can handle it? You know how she is with technology. Karen's message was sharp. It doesn't matter if she messes it up. We'll fix it. The important thing is she pays. Sarah's was just as bad. Yes! A free vacation in the Hamptons? And David's final clarification. Just so we're all clear. This is not a family trip. No all-together activities. Everyone for themselves. She's just the bank. The words became blurry again from the tears I could no longer hold back. But then I saw something else. More recent messages. Messages that made me understand the full, horrifying magnitude of their betrayal. Mark had asked, David, did you confirm with AMEX? Are we set? David's reply made my blood run cold. Yeah. I spoke to their fraud department. Since the reservation is under Mom's name, she's the only one liable. On the last day, we'll all check out. Then, I'll call my bank and dispute the transfer I meant to send her. You guys do the same. Karen had an even crueler idea. Better yet, let's convince her to transfer the rooms to our names tomorrow, just in case of emergency. Then, on the last day, we'll tell her there was a billing error. The hotel needs someone else to take care of the payment. She'll be stuck with the whole $15,000 bill, and we can just claim we already paid our share to her. It's perfect. There it was. Not only had they planned to ignore me, to use me, to mock me, they planned to leave me with the entire crushing debt. They had used me to organize and pay for their perfect, luxurious vacation, and then they planned to abandon me with the bill, committing bank fraud to do it. Grandma. Emily gently touched my arm. What are you going to do? That question echoed in my mind. What was I going to do? The old Eleanor, the one who had arrived this morning, would have cried in silence. She would have swallowed the humiliation, pretended she hadn't seen anything. She would have spent the 7 days locked in her room, ordering room service so as not to bother the family in the restaurants, watching TV while they enjoyed the pools and the spa and the nightlife that I had paid for. But something had changed inside me. Maybe it was seeing Robert's necklace disappear into Mr. Henderson's hands. Or maybe it was those 8 months of waking up in the cold dark to make jam. Maybe it was the realization that my own children, my flesh and blood, saw me as nothing more than a walking wallet. A useful nuisance. "I don't know yet, honey," I replied to Emily, wiping my tears with the back of my hand. My hand was steady now. "But I am not going to stand here and cry." We walked to my suite, 303. It was beautiful. A king-sized bed with pristine white sheets, a fireplace, a marble bathroom with a deep tub, and a private balcony with a direct, stunning view of the ocean. Everything I had dreamed of for months, but now it felt empty. A cold, hollow stage set for a play where I was just the financier, not the star. I sat on the edge of the bed, and Emily stood by the window, looking out at the beach where I could already see some of my family members. David and Mark were in the heated outdoor pool with their kids. Karen and Sarah were already laid out on lounge chairs, cocktails in hand, laughing and enjoying themselves as if nothing had happened. "You know what hurts the most?" I said to Emily, my voice quiet. "It's not the money, or even the fact that they lied to me. It's that I really thought, we were finally going to be a real family, that we were going to make beautiful memories together." Emily turned around, and I saw her eyes were red. "Grandma, I tried to tell them it was wrong. When Dad added me to the group, I told them it wasn't fair to you. But they said I didn't understand. That sometimes adults have to make difficult decisions. Difficult decisions. That's what I was to them, a difficult decision." At that moment, my phone buzzed. It was a text message from David. "Mom, we've settled in. We're going to grab lunch at the beach restaurant. If you want, you can just order room service. See you at dinner." Maybe. Liars. They had planned to have lunch without me from the beginning. But this time, instead of feeling hurt, I smiled. A cold, tight smile. I texted Emily. "Tell your father thank you very much, but I have other plans." And I wasn't lying. I did have other plans. Plans that were taking shape in my mind with a clarity that surprised me. That afternoon, while my family enjoyed the beach on my dime, I was busy. I was in my room, executing my own plan. I had learned over 68 years that patience is the most powerful weapon a woman can have, especially when she is underestimated. My first call was to my bank, Bank of America. After navigating a maze of automated options and waiting for 20 minutes, I finally managed to speak with a human representative. "National Bank, this is Susan speaking. How can I help you?" "Good morning, Susan. My name is Eleanor Vance. I need to report a potential case of financial elder abuse and attempted fraud." I used the exact words. "Of course, Mrs. Vance. I'm taking this very seriously. Can you provide me with your card number and date of birth to verify your identity?" After confirming my information, I explained the entire situation, choosing every word carefully. "Susan, I have reason to believe, and I have written proof, that my family members are going to attempt to fraudulently dispute legitimate charges that I made on my card. Specifically, a resort reservation for $15,000, which I personally authorized and paid for in full." "I understand your concern, Mrs. Vance. Do you have this proof?" "Yes, I have screenshots of their entire plan sent from my granddaughter's phone." "I am going to place a protection note on your account right now, Mrs. Vance. If anyone, and I mean anyone, tries to dispute these charges, an automatic investigation will be triggered, which will require substantial evidence of actual fraud. Given what you've told me, and the proof you're about to email me, any dispute from them will be immediately denied. The charges will remain valid." After hanging up, I felt as though I had won the first battle of a war that had just begun. But I needed more ammunition. My second call was to the hotel reception. "Good afternoon. Could I please speak with the manager, Mr. Harrison?" 5 minutes later, A man with a kind, firm voice introduced himself. Mrs. Vance, I'm Michael Harrison, the hotel's general manager. The receptionist tells me you wanted to speak with me? Yes, Mr. Harrison. I have a delicate family situation, and I need to make sure certain information is officially registered. I explained that I had paid for the full reservation as a surprise, but had discovered a plot by my family to defraud both me and the hotel by disputing the charges. Mr. Harrison was quiet for a moment. I understand perfectly, Mrs. Vance. Unfortunately, this is not the first time we've seen complicated family financial situations. What would you like us to do? First, I need you to confirm in writing that I am the sole holder of this reservation and that I paid for everything voluntarily. Second, if anyone in my family tries to make changes to the reservation, add their names to the rooms, or access my billing information, I want you to contact me immediately. They are not authorized. Of course, ma'am. I will send an official letter to your suite confirming all details of your reservation and payment. I am also going to instruct all front-of-house staff about this situation. No changes will be made without your express, in-person consent. One more thing, Mr. Harrison. Would it be possible to schedule a meeting with you for tomorrow morning? I think I might need to make some changes to the reservation. Of course. Is 9 a.m. in my office suitable for you? Perfect. My third call was the most important. I found the number for Mr. Davies, the lawyer who had helped Robert with his will. Jenkins, Davies and Associates. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Is Mr. Davies in? This is Eleanor Vance. Mrs. Vance, it's a pleasure to hear from you. Mr. Davies is with a client, but I can interrupt him if it's urgent. It's urgent! 3 minutes later, the familiar, gravelly voice of Mr. Davies filled the phone. Eleanor? How are you? Is everything all right? No, Mr. Davies. Nothing is all right. I need urgent legal advice. I told him the whole story. The trip, the group chat, the screenshots, the plan to dispute the $15,000, everything. Mr. Davies listened without interrupting, making occasional sounds of deep disapproval. Eleanor, this is very serious. What your children are planning constitutes conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud, and financial elder abuse. Elder abuse? Yes. Using deceit to obtain financial benefits from a senior citizen is a serious offense. Furthermore, disputing legitimate charges is bank fraud. What can I do, Eleanor? I don't know. I just want them to stop. I understand, but I want you to know that you have options. You can sue them. You can change your will. You can take steps to protect all of your assets from them immediately. Think about it. In the meantime, I'm going to email you a sworn statement, an affidavit, declaring that you voluntarily paid for all trip expenses. I want you to sign it and have it notarized. Does the hotel have a notary? I'm sure they do. Good. Get that done tonight. This is your shield. After hanging up, I sat in silence. The sun was beginning to set, painting my beautiful, empty room in shades of orange and purple. I could hear the happy, distant voices of my family returning from the beach, laughing, talking about their plans for dinner. At 6:30, there was a knock on my door. It was David. Hey, Mom. How was your afternoon? Very productive, son. Productive? What did you do? Important calls, paperwork, adult stuff. I saw his smile become a little forced, a little nervous. Mom, speaking of paperwork, Mark and I were thinking, maybe it would be easier if we handled some of the hotel details. So you don't have to worry about anything, you just relax. There it was, the first official move of their plan. What kind of details? Well, the keys to the other rooms, for example. Just in case there's an emergency and we need to get in. And maybe adding our names to the reservation, just to make ordering things easier. What kind of emergency, David, would require you to have access to rooms that aren't yours? David seemed taken aback by the direct question. I don't know, Mom. We just thought it would be more practical. David, I said, my voice as calm and cold as a Vermont winter. I am 68 years old, not 98. I can handle the keys to the rooms just fine. I am the reservation holder, and I will remain the only reservation holder. Is that clear? Of course, Mom. I didn't mean you couldn't. I just thought. What did you think exactly? I watched him get nervous, searching for the right words to manipulate the situation without sounding too obvious. He couldn't find them. Nothing, Mom. Forget it. Are you coming to dinner? Of course. It's my money paying for that dinner, isn't it? The question caught him by surprise. Your money? I mean, well, yes, but we'll split everything at the end of the trip like we talked about. When did we talk about that exactly, David? Did we ever agree, specifically, that this would be a shared expense? Mom, I don't understand why you're asking these questions. I got up and walked to the door. Let's go to dinner, son. I'm hungry. As we walked to the elevator, I could feel his confusion. His plan required me to be the predictable, manageable, passive mother I had always been. But I was no longer the same woman who had arrived at this hotel just a few hours ago. During dinner, I watched my family with new eyes. I saw how each of them enjoyed the food I had paid for. The $20 cocktails Karen and Sarah ordered. The expensive lobster tails David and Mark got. The multiple desserts they ordered just to try. I saw how they talked about their plans for the next day. Spa for the women, golf for the men, as if I weren't there. But I also saw Emily watching me with worried, knowing eyes. And I saw my younger grandkids genuinely enjoying the trip, knowing nothing of their parents' betrayal. That night, after everyone had gone to their rooms, Emily came to see me as we had agreed. Grandma, what is going on? Dad seemed really weird during dinner. He seemed weird, honey, because his plan isn't working out as he expected. I told her about my calls, about the bank, the lawyer, and the manager, about the measures I had taken to protect myself, and about the meeting I had scheduled with Mr. Harrison in the morning. Are you going to cancel the trip? She asked, her eyes wide. No, honey. I smiled, and for the first time in days, it was a genuine, real smile. I'm going to do something much better. What? I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve. At 5 a.m., I was already awake. Not because I had set an alarm, but because my body had developed the habit of waking up in the cold and dark during those months of selling jam. But this time, instead of feeling the familiar weight of exhaustion, I felt a strange, electric energy. Today was the day. I took a long, hot shower. I put on my best outfit, a navy blue wool suit I had bought for Robert's funeral, but had never had an occasion to wear since. I put on my mother's pearl earrings. I looked in the mirror. I didn't see a burden. I saw Eleanor Vance. I went down to the restaurant at 6:30. It was almost empty. Perfect. I needed quiet to review my notes. As I sipped my coffee and looked over the notarized affidavit Mr. Davies had prepared, I saw Michael Harrison, the hotel manager, come in. Mrs. Vance. Good morning. Did you sleep well? Very well, thank you, Michael. Could we move our meeting up? There are a few things I would like to discuss before my family wakes up. Of course. My office? His office was elegant, with a large mahogany desk and a view of the gardens. He offered me a coffee, which I accepted. Mrs. Vance, he began, opening a folder. Last night, I reviewed your case with my legal team. We want to make sure we completely understand the situation. Your legal team? Yes. Cases like yours, while unfortunately not rare, require us to follow certain protocols to protect both the guest and the hotel. Allow me to confirm. You paid for the full reservation of $15,000 with your own credit card without coercion as a surprise. Is that correct? Completely correct. And here is the notarized affidavit to that effect. He took the document and nodded gravely. And you have evidence that members of your party plan to fraudulently dispute these charges? Yes. Here are the screenshots. He reviewed them, his expression hardening. I see. This is unambiguous. He slid a document across the desk to me. This is an addendum to your reservation contract. It gives you exclusive and absolute authority over every aspect of your stay. As the sole financial guarantor, you have absolute control. You can decide who stays and who leaves. You can modify services, and you can cancel specific rooms if you wish. My heart quickened. I can cancel specific rooms? Absolutely. There are 5 suites reserved in your name. You can keep all 5. Or you can cancel 1, 2, 3, or even 4 of them. The people in those rooms would have to find alternative accommodation, or leave the hotel. The idea bloomed in my mind, crystal clear. Michael, what is the hotel's checkout time? Normally 12 noon, ma'am. And if someone needs to leave before that time? We can certainly accommodate that. I was silent for a moment, looking out the window at the gardens. It was a beautiful, crisp winter day. Perfect for golf, perfect for the spa. The kind of day my family had planned to enjoy entirely at my expense. Michael, I want to make some changes. I'm all ears, Mrs. Vance. I want to cancel 4 of the 5 suites. He raised his eyebrows slightly, but maintained his professional expression. Which ones, specifically? I took out my notebook. Suites 301, 302, 304, and 305. I want to keep only my suite, 303. Understood. And when would you like these cancellations to be effective? Today. But not immediately. I need this to be executed precisely. First, I want you to block all key card access to those 4 rooms at exactly 10 a.m. Their keys will simply stop working. A simple deactivation. Got it. Then, at 11 a.m., I want hotel staff to go to those suites to inform the guests that they must vacate the rooms before noon due to changes in the reservation. Michael took notes, not judging, completely professional. Are there any specific instructions I should give the staff? Yes, they should explain that the reservation holder, which is me, decided to modify the stay, that it is not the hotel's fault, but a personal decision by the person who paid for the reservation. And if they ask where they can find me, you can tell them I am available in Suite 303, but only if they come to speak civilly. If there are shouts, threats, or disrespect toward your staff, you have my instruction to contact security. Michael finished writing and looked at me with a mix of admiration and curiosity. Mrs. Vance, may I ask what led you to this decision? Michael, do you have a family? Yes, a wife and 2 young children. And what if they betrayed you? What if you found out they were using you, that they were embarrassed by you, that they planned to scam you and leave you in financial ruin? Michael was silent. I think I understand. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Vance, he said. Don't apologize, Michael. This isn't sadness. This is liberation. I signed all the necessary documents. One last thing. Michael, my granddaughter, Emily, she's in Suite 304 with her parents. She is not part of this. Could you please arrange a standard room for her under my name, starting today? It would be my pleasure. We can have it ready by 11 a.m. And a taxi for my former guests for 12:30, a large one. Of course. When I returned to my room, it was 8:30. My family was surely awake, planning another perfect day without me. But this time, things would be different. I sat on my balcony with a fresh cup of coffee and waited. At 9 a.m., I received the first text from Emily. It was a screenshot of the no drama chat. Karen had written, "Perfect plan for today. Spa at 11, beach all afternoon. The old lady will surely stay in her room again." David replied, "Great. After lunch, I'll go to reception to get control of the other rooms. Did you confirm with the bank, Mark?" Mark's message, "Yep. The dispute process is ready to go. By tomorrow, we won't have to worry about the expenses anymore." Each message was another nail in their coffin. There was no doubt, no guilt, no room for regret. They had chosen this path. At 9:55 a.m., my phone rang. It was Michael. "Mrs. Vance, the system is ready. In 5 minutes, the keycards for suites 301, 302, 304, and 305 will be deactivated." "Perfect, Michael. Is your staff ready?" "Completely. We have the security team on standby, as you requested." "Excellent. I'll see you soon." I looked at my watch. 9:58, 9:59, 10 o'clock. At that very moment, my family's key cards had just become useless pieces of plastic. They wouldn't be able to get into their rooms, access their belongings, change their clothes. I waited. It didn't take long. At 10:11, my phone buzzed with an urgent message from Emily. "Grandma, Aunt Karen is yelling at the front desk. Her keycard isn't working." 3 minutes later. Now they're all here. Dad is very upset. The receptionist is explaining something to them. At 10:20, David called me. His voice was tense, controlled. But I could hear the panic underneath. "Mom? There's a problem with the rooms. The key cards aren't working. Could you come down to reception to help us fix it?" "What kind of problem, David?" "We don't know. The receptionist says there's a change in the reservation, but that's impossible. No one has changed anything." "How strange," I replied, with the most innocent voice I could muster. "Are you sure you haven't changed anything?" "Of course not." "Mom, could you just come down? We need to sort this out." "I'm a little busy right now, son. But don't worry, I'm sure it will be sorted out soon." "Busy with what?" "Important things." I hung up. At 10:58, my phone rang again. This time, it was Mark. His voice was not calm. "Mom, we need you to come to reception now. There's a very serious misunderstanding, and only you can fix it." "What kind of misunderstanding, Mark?" "The hotel says you canceled our rooms." "That's ridiculous, right? Tell them it's a mistake." "Why would it be ridiculous, Mark?" There was a long, cold silence on the other end of the line. What? What do you mean? Why? I mean, why is it ridiculous? Why would it be a mistake?" Because there's no reason for you to cancel our rooms." "Isn't there?" Another silence. When Mark spoke again, his voice had changed completely. It was hollow. "Mom, did you cancel our rooms?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I can." And I hung up. At exactly 11:05 a.m., there was a knock on my door. It wasn't a polite knock. It was a hard, urgent, desperate pounding. I opened the door, and there they were, all 4 of them. David, Mark, Karen, and Sarah. Their faces were a collage of fury, confusion, panic, and utter disbelief. Behind them, in the hallway, I could see my grandkids waiting with their beach bags, looking confused. "Can you tell me what the hell is going on?" Karen yelled, pushing past me into the room. "Good morning to you too, Karen," I replied calmly, stepping aside. "Don't give me that attitude, Eleanor," she shrieked. "The hotel says you canceled our rooms." "They're kicking us out. It's humiliating." "Why is it humiliating, Karen? Is it embarrassing?" "Of course it's embarrassing." We're your family. That's what I thought. David stepped forward, trying to use his reasonable voice. Mom, there is clearly a massive misunderstanding. Let's go down to reception, all of us, and clear this up right now. There is no misunderstanding, David. I canceled your rooms. But why? Mark asked, his voice cracking. Because you are no longer welcome on my trip. Your trip? Sarah looked genuinely confused. I thought it was a family trip. I thought so too, Sarah. Until I discovered that you don't consider me family. You just consider me useful for something. I watched their faces fall. I watched the color drain from David's cheeks. I watched Karen's eyes widen in horror. What are you talking about? David stammered. I took out my phone. I opened the gallery, and I showed them the screenshots. This, I said, holding up the phone. This is what I'm talking about. I watched them read their own words. The old burden. Finally, a moment of peace. At least she's useful for something. Let her stay in her room and watch TV. The important thing is, she pays. The silence in the room was deafening. The four of them looked at each other, searching for an explanation, an excuse, a way out of the hole they had dug for themselves. Mom, David tried, his voice trembling. This isn't what it looks like. It was a joke, a stupid joke. A joke? Then explain this one to me. I swiped to the next screenshot. The one about disputing the charges. The one about leaving me with the $15,000 bill. Explain to me what fraudulent dispute means, David. Explain to me the part where you plan to commit bank fraud and leave your 68-year-old widowed mother in financial ruin. Was that part of the stupid joke too? David's face went completely pale. Mark looked like he was going to be sick. Karen slumped into the armchair, covering her face with her hands. So, I said, my voice strangely calm, here are your options. You can take your things, which the hotel staff is so kindly packing for you as we speak. You can call a taxi, and you can go find another hotel, one where you can pay for your own vacation. You can't do this, Karen yelled, jumping up from the chair. We're your family. You can't just abandon us? I looked directly into the eyes of the woman who had called me a burden. Karen, I said, with a calm that terrified even me. Who abandoned whom first? And in that moment, I saw in her eyes that she knew. She knew they had lost. The war had ended before they even knew it had begun. The silence that followed was devastating. I could hear the air conditioner, the distant voices of other guests, the gentle sound of the waves. David was the first to try to recover. Mom, this is crazy. You can't be serious. Do I look like I'm joking? But the kids. What are the grandkids going to think? For the first time, I felt a pang. My grandkids. The grandkids, I said, my voice hardening again, are going to think that their parents made very, very poor decisions. And now they have to face the consequences. You're destroying this family, Sarah cried, tears of rage streaming down her face. No, Sarah. This family destroyed itself when you all decided that I was a bank account, an obstacle, instead of a mother. At that moment, Emily appeared in the doorway. What's going on? She asked, her voice small. The kids don't understand why we have to leave. Mark rushed to her. Emily, stay out of this. No, Emily said, her voice shaking but firm. I won't stay out of it. It's my fault you found out, isn't it, Grandma? It's not your fault, honey. It's your honesty. What do you know about this? Mark snapped at his daughter. I know everything, Dad, Emily cried, tears in her eyes. I know what you've all been saying about Grandma. I know you never wanted her to come. I know you only used her so she would pay for everything." The silence was different now. It was heavy with the shame of recognition. "You hurt her," Emily continued, pointing at me. "You hurt the only person who has always been there for us. Grandma sold her wedding necklace to pay for this trip. Did you know that? She sold Grandpa Robert's necklace. If I had struck them, the effect would not have been more profound." David slumped against the wall as if his legs could no longer support him. Mark looked at me, his face a mask of horror. You sold your necklace?" "We didn't know," David whispered. "Because you never asked," I finally shouted, the calm breaking. "You never asked." "You just assumed I had infinite money for your whims. You assumed I had nothing better to do than finance your luxurious lives. You didn't ask what it cost me. You just sent a text message about how useful I was." "Fine!" Karen suddenly stood up, her face a mask of fury. "You want to be the martyr. You want to have your dramatic moment. Fine. We'll leave. But don't you come running back to us when you're old and lonely and have no one left." Her words were designed to hurt me, to trigger that old fear. "Karen," I said, walking to the door and opening it wide. "I would rather be alone, truly alone, for the rest of my life, than be accompanied by people who despise me." Exactly at that moment, Michael Harrison knocked gently on the open door. He was flanked by two polite, but very large, security guards. "Excuse the interruption, Mrs. Vance," he said, his voice professional and kind. He looked past me at my children. Mr. Vance, your luggage is in the lobby. The taxi you requested will be here at 12:30. The hotel can, of course, help you find alternative accommodation, though I'm afraid most of the Hamptons is fully booked." "Taxi?" David asked, his voice hollow. "Yes," I said, picking up my own suitcase, which I had packed that morning. "Your taxi?" "Emily and I are taking the hotel car." "Emily is going with you?" Mark looked genuinely shocked. I looked at my granddaughter, who nodded firmly and went to grab her own bag from the hallway. "Emily is the only person in this family who treated me with respect and honesty. She's the only one who deserves to share this vacation with me." "You can't take our daughter," Sarah shrieked. "I'm not taking her." "She's choosing to come with me. She'll be staying in her own room, which I have already paid for." "This is kidnapping," Karen muttered. "No," I said firmly, walking past them. "This is justice." David came up to me one last time, his face broken. "Mom, please. If we leave like this, things will never be the same between us." I stopped. I placed my hand on his shoulder, and for a moment, I saw the little boy he had been, before he became the man who had chosen to betray me. "David," I said, my voice final. "Things were already never the same. You made sure of that." I picked up my suitcase. Emily joined me. We walked toward the elevator. In the hallway, the other grandkids were crying, confused. I knelt in front of them. "I love you all very much," I said, "and this isn't your fault. Someday, when you're older, you'll understand why Grandma had to do this." Emily and I walked to the elevator. As the doors closed, I could see my family standing in the hallway, defeated, furious, and alone. In the lobby, a black Lincoln Navigator was waiting. Mr. Harrison personally escorted us out. "Mrs. Vance," he said, "it has been an honor to meet you. What you did today took a lot of courage." "It wasn't courage, Michael. It was survival." As the car pulled away from the Golden Dunes Resort, I looked out the back window. I could see my family at the entrance, surrounded by their mountain of luggage, arguing, gesticulating, trying to call other hotels. Do you regret it, Grandma? Emily asked me quietly, taking my hand. I thought about the question as we drove down the beautiful tree-lined road. I thought about 40 years of motherhood, about sacrifices that were never acknowledged, about the love I had given so freely, expecting nothing in return, but that in the end had at least expected basic respect. No, honey, I finally replied, squeezing her hand. I don't regret it. I regret that it took me 68 years to finally value myself. The car was heading toward a small boutique hotel on the coast, a place where I had made a reservation that morning. A place where a grandmother and her granddaughter could enjoy quiet dinners, walk on the cold beach, and remember what it meant to be a real family. For the first time in years, I felt free. Did you enjoy my story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like this story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe to Aunt Millie's Tales. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.